Hi, everybody. Hope everybody's doing well. So here we are live on Mercado Airwaves. Here it is what? March 18th, Wednesday, March 18th at almost 10 p.m. It's crazy, right? I bet you everybody is kind of feeling out of sorts, out of, wits, out of their own comfort zone. But we'll get through it, guys. So before we get to everything, let me set everything up and we'll make this so that everybody could check it out. Let's also make sure it sounds good. Let me see if everybody can hear it okay. Hang out 1 second, my friends. You could see me on the phone doing this live production here. Yeah, so we can hear the sound okay. So, what we're going to do now is we're going to jump onto the page itself and we're going to share it so that anybody who's up right now, who doesn't have to go to work, who's on their own little quarantine, can hang out with us. So, give me 1 second, friends. Join us. So, where do we want to get started? I guess the first thing is, how's everybody doing? I hope you guys are all being safe. I know these are some pretty crazy times that we're all going through, but we'll all manage it. We'll all get through it. I guess the toughest part for a lot of people is the uncertainty of it. This is something that we're not used to, especially here in the United States. I think for a lot of the rest of the world, they go through stuff like this more often than we do. Not to say that people don't deal with their own hardships in many different forms here, but this is something definitely that nobody's ever gone through that we know of. We've gone through different things like H1N1 and we've gone through swine flu and bird flu and stuff that's still around, but it's interesting that living through this right now, how some people take it very seriously, some people don't, some people see this as a red flag. Some people see this as the worst thing ever. And quite frankly, none of us really know. And I think that's why the most important thing to do now is just be very discreet. Be cognizant, have some empathy. Shout out to all the people who are out there who are living without knowing what's going on with their jobs. That's the interesting thing. Like, we're about to talk about Bears and Tom Brady and all this, but one of the interesting thing is to see where a lot of people, their attention is. When we're watching sports, like, you know how much I love sports. You know how much I love geek culture, the Good Brothers, Sports from the Couch, how much fun we have with that. But, when it's not there and you see real problems that you're dealing with, it really does put things into perspective. It also shows how important sports and pop culture and a lot of these things are. We work through a lot of our issues through sports, from 9/11 through the Gulf War, through what was the second Gulf War, what was going on just with China when Kobe Bryant passed away. It doesn't matter what the situation going on in society is. Sports is usually a very therapeutic way for a lot of us to get through our emotions, to help us get through our emotions. And right now, I think what's hurting a lot of people is they can't do that. They're really the distractions, and they are distractions, but they are good for a lot of people. That they're not there. You can't work through a lot of these issues. A lot of these issues you have to work out are almost internally, and that's what's really interesting. I think for a lot of people right now is that's what they're seeing. It's a lot of self-reflection and a lot of alone time, and I think that's. I think that's a really fascinating thing that we're seeing right now. But that's kind of what we're going through right now. I want to know how you guys are handling this. What have you been doing? Have you been binge watching shows on Netflix? Have you, have you been walking around the park? I know a lot of people aren't going to the gym. Has this been a chance for you to work on your resume? Has this been a chance for you to clean something up that you've been pushing away? I think while we're waiting to see what happens, it's pretty, this is the opportunity for a lot of people, I think. And I think a lot of people are having this moment, this self-reflection moment of beyond just the craziness that is this pandemic, but a self-reflection of having time to really think about the future, think about where they want to be, being put into a certain situation that they didn't foresee themselves being in. And now they have an opportunity. And I think a lot of people are going to take this as an opportunity to do something different. And I commend a lot of people who are thinking that, but Why don't we get into a little bit of some of the cool news or some of the stuff that was distracting us a little bit? We see Tom Brady is going to be a Tampa Bay Buccaneers. So this may be just a little random of a chat being online. I think we might just talk about whatever we want to talk about. Let kind of go as we want, and then you guys leave comments below. We'll tackle anything you guys are talking about. There's no real format to this. Just loosey-goosey, 10 o'clock at night here in the wonderful state of Illinois, the greatest city in the world, Chicago. I have my hot tea ready to go. Not gossip, but a little gossip, some hot tea. I have ESPN on the big TV right now. We're actually doing this in the living room. We have the studio set up, but I figured I'd join the rest of you who have just been hanging out here. We'll just talk as if you guys are here hanging out with me. They're actually talking about the big news of Nick Foles being traded from the Jacksonville Jaguars to the Chicago Bears, and we'll get to that in just a little bit. Let me take a sip of this wonderful tea. Beautiful. But why don't we start right there, I guess, since it's right here. We have Nick Foles, Chicago Bear. I don't know how to feel about that. A lot of people have their own opinions, and all right, I guess we're going all over the place. Let's start back with Tom Brady, him joining Tampa Bay. I guess the big thing about it ends up being, how much does Tom Brady have left? One of the greatest quarterbacks of all time, maybe the greatest quarterback of all time. But I can't blame anybody who doesn't want to pay a guy who was going to be in his 45 by the end of the contract that he wanted. $30 million each year. It's a lot of money. He is the greatest. But you can't blame the New England Patriots for moving on. What I do blame the Patriots. So what's the backup plan? They didn't really do anything to solidify that. And on top of it, the guy that they love, or the two guys that they love, are playing for Indianapolis and playing for San Francisco. So I'm interested to see how New England responds to that. Again, we've seen it before. It never really ends the way you think it's going to. And that's why I think a lot of fans have a hard time with this, because they always assume, Madden and fantasy football, that things work out the way they do in simulation. But the truth of the matter is, none of these guys end with the teams they want to. They never end quite on time. And it's hard because they have such a small window of which they can make money and be in the spotlight. So I understand them not wanting to, get away from that. That's why somebody like Tom Brady, it was never destined to end in Boston. It was never destined to end with him in New England. He was going to end up somewhere else because they were going to move on. That's the NFL. The fact that he made it this long is its own great accomplishment. So I don't think you should poo-poo that. But that's one thing to look at this. I know a lot of fans have a hard time when it comes to the business of it. And I'm always a player guy. I'm always on the side of the player. But I also understand the other end of it when it comes to the Tom Brady conversation. And I also understand in the NFL, tell me when it normally ends well. We don't see it. Unless it ends in retirement, we don't see him. They always ends bad. So I'm interested to see how this goes for Tom Brady. But why don't we go ahead? Let's talk about the big news. I'm actually going to look it up right now as we're talking. This is the beautiful thing about doing the quarantines episode. Let's look at Nick Foles, who was traded to your Chicago Bears. And I know a lot of you had some thoughts about that. We'll get into see what everybody was talking about in just a little second as I pull that up. So we'll go through the comments section as they suck. That's from my mom. Love you, mama. Hope everything is good over there. What else do we have? All right. Fernando. Shout out, Nando. Hope everything is well. Bears. I concur, sir. Christian Simpson. Christian, we're going to have you on the show. For everybody who's a fan of Sports from the Couch and one of the best guys that we have on the Daily Blitz, it's Christian Simpson. We'll have him on the show. This is from Consolito. What do we got here? Foles. Further proof that they're committed to Mitch. This has to be the last try at making Mitch work. If it doesn't, then both he and Pace have to go. Nagy might have a little bit more slack than them, but not much. Cam or Teddy could have given them some more life if they were looking to draft a QB 2 to 3 years from now. Here's all of that. There's nothing necessarily wrong with any of that. The truth of it ends up coming down to that defense isn't going to be around for 2 or 3 years. That defense window is probably this year and next year. So you bring in somebody like Nick Foles, who I guess what they're trying to do, and this is just my guess, I think what they're trying to do is replace Mitch Trubisky without saying we're replacing Mitch Trubisky. You traded up to draft him. You didn't take meetings with with Deshaun Watson, the Heisman Award winner, the guy who beat Alabama in a national championship game. One of the best young quarterbacks in the league. You didn't draft Patrick Mahomes. You traded up to get Mitchell Trubisky. You can't just say we're moving on from him and not expect to lose your job. That is the truth about these jobs and this situation. The reason why you don't see transparency, especially from executives in the National Football League, is because of the turnaround, because of the shelf life. The reason why Theo Epstein, the reason why Rick Hahn can be transparent here in the city of Chicago when it comes to baseball, it takes a little longer. There is a little bit more leeway. The leash is a little longer. It's not like that in the NFL. There's the same reason why you could go from 3-13 to 13-3 in one season. I think that's why a move like this makes sense if you're the front office. You can't bring in Cam Newton and then say it's an open competition, especially with a straight face. Now, mind you, this front office doesn't like to get in front of the media. But even they can't do that and try to be sneaky enough with it. Take a sip of this championship glass. Look at that. That's pretty, right? World champions. I think that's why you didn't see somebody like Teddy Bridgewater or Cam Newton. I would have liked either one. Truth of the matter is, this would not be a problem had you just drafted Deshaun Watson and Patrick Mahomes. I know. I don't want to get into it. But I'm going to get into it. You should have just drafted them. Ryan Pace should probably not be the GM after this anyway. And here's something else for all the Bears fans out there. Do you want Ryan Pace drafting another quarterback? How many times do you need to be proven wrong? They signed Jimmy Graham. Obviously he's picked up on some good guys over the drafts, is being able to pick up professional personnel when it came to Khalil Mack. This is the guy who drafted Adam Shaheen in the second round. They have 7 tight ends, and now they just bring in Jimmy Graham. Come on. I don't need Ryan Pace picking another quarterback. So as far as I'm concerned, this is probably the smartest move they could have made. Let's see. Teddy Bridgewater, again, he ended up going to Carolina. Guaranteed job. Tougher division. Does know the team in New Orleans, so he's going to play them twice. That's going to be interesting. But I think that's all it came down to is they did want to not just protect Mitchell Trubisky, but protect their own jobs. All right. I feel like I look fat on this camera. Ugh. All right. How are you guys doing it without the gym? The lovely Nicole Mancha's father, Commissioner Gordon, is maybe giving me some dumbbells and some workout equipment. God, I need it. I haven't been to the gym in like 3 days. Ugh. Andrew Popa. What's up, Popa? Let's see what you got. What direction are we going in? With Trubisky being too inconsistent, Pace and Nagy publicly stood behind him and said, here's our guy moving forward. Now they signed Foles. It seems like they are loading up heavily this year to be a Super Bowl contending year. You don't win a Super Bowl with 2 quarterbacks, just like an NHL team doesn't win a Stanley Cup with 2 goalies. The year they bring back the Honey Bears will be the year they win the Super Bowl, where Virginia McCaskey is not ever going to bring the Honey Bears back. So at least as long as Virginia's alive, that's not happening. But Popa, let's start from what direction are they going in? They're going in all in. They're putting all their chips on the table. That's what they're trying to do. Now, does it work out? I doubt it. But in the NFL, there is a quick turnaround. So 7-9. And 12-4 last year, 2 years ago, 7-9 last year. I mean, yeah, 8-8 is possible. Obviously, they don't have wide receivers, so that doesn't help with the offensive scheme. They don't have a tight end. They don't have 2 tight ends like they like doing. So here's the thing, right? Everybody always talks about At best, this offense can look like Philadelphia and like Kansas City. At its best. It doesn't match up like that personnel-wise, though. Allen Robinson's a big possession receiver. But you don't have a speedster that goes down. You don't have a tight end formation, a two tight end set formation with reliable guys. Trey Burton should be that if he could stay healthy. He can't stay healthy. So to bring in Jimmy Graham, I see what they're trying to do if this was 6 years ago. Jimmy Graham now, I'm not too sure. Pace and Nagy publicly stood behind him. Again, that's just job security. That's just having security in your situation, making sure that you're able to save as much, face as possible. And I think that's also the interesting thing about the NFL is because it's such a quick turnaround, how much you do have to carry water for certain guys, especially offensively speaking. It's also so important how you have to hit on a young quarterback because that's what saves salary cap. That's what's able to build these super teams. It's going to be interesting to see what happens with Kansas City. They cashed in because they won a Super Bowl. But I'm looking at the screen right now. Hey, have any of you guys ever done Invisalign? If you have, shoot it at your boy. Let me know. Let me know if you guys got anybody good. If we survive the zombie apocalypse, I would love to check that out. You don't win a Super Bowl with two quarterbacks. Honestly, though, and that's the thing, right? They're going to say this is competition. I think this is sneaky Nick Foles is your starting quarterback. Because all things being equal, he's easily the better quarterback. He needs to be healthy. Let me ask you this. Is Gardner Minshew better than Mitchell Trubisky? Probably. Do you think Nick Foles is better than Minshew? Because that's why Jacksonville moved on after giving Nick Foles so much money. I don't know. I'm not sure. But it's an interesting question to see how much rope do Pace and Nagy have after this season if it doesn't go well. All right, Ramon. Oh, my guy. All right, let's see. Worst move of the offseason. Not only picked up a QB that only plays well with the Eagles, but also added a huge contract to the crap and an over-the-hill tight end. Everyone will be fired at the end of the upcoming season. Too many bonehead moves, and all this while giving up more draft capital. And that's the thing, right? It upsets us because just logically speaking, you have a better chance at winning a Super Bowl if you can get creative in the draft, hit on a young quarterback, and sign a few veteran spots. They spit in the face of that every single time they get rid of one of their draft picks. Here's the thing, though. Ryan Pace doesn't always, and I'm not, obviously not, there's a reason why a lot of these guys don't always hit. But for a guy who feels like has so much job security, really hasn't done well in the draft. And we haven't seen enough of it because he's always getting rid of draft picks. And I hate feeling bad about getting Khalil Mack as a Bears fan because you shouldn't. But when you see how things have turned out after one good season, yeah, it's enough to be frustrated. It's enough to get mad about almost, here, it'd be one thing, right? This is why I think it upsets people the most. Because they walked around acting like they did win something. They walked around acting as if Cody Parkey didn't miss that kick. That's the issue. The issue is this team walked around like they are winners. They're a hell of a team at their best, of course. But there's a lot of hell of teams, great teams. There's a lot of good players. There's a reason why they're professionals. Because they are that good. But for 1 second, that team thought that they were the Super Bowl champions. They didn't get out of the wild card. And that's why it's so much frustration. Because not only did they put expectations, did they go around with swagger? Did they have an attitude with media? Did they have an attitude with fans? Club dub. And then we start seeing this. It makes you think, man. It really makes you think sometimes the fortitude of a team. Look at again, professionally speaking, when you're able to take away your fandom, look what they do up in Green Bay. It does not matter their record. It does not matter what the media is talking about. What we're saying on social media or on our podcast does not matter. Aaron Rodgers is calm, cool, and collective. Always in it. Always hanging around. And yet, here we go. No, nothing. You can't say the same. You can't say the same about this Bears team. It's never like that. That's frustrating. That's frustrating when push comes to shove. They have never had, other than the Lovie Smith era, and it's interesting how fast they wanted to get rid of Lovie Smith, how fast they wanted to get rid of that entire regime and bring in Mark Trestman, Phil Emery. Come on. That is unreal. It's frustrating because the Bears set themselves up as one of these marquee franchises in the NFL. Yeah, by age, right? But you walk into that. You didn't earn that. You didn't earn the pageantry that the Packers get, or the Steelers get, or the Patriots get, or the Cowboys get, or the 49ers get. There's a tier to this thing. And Chicago is such a diehard sports city, such a diehard pop culture city. Loves its Bears during the winter. What have you ever seen that has earned them that? And then you get an offseason like this, right? Where it's very Chicago bullish. It's like, we're telling you one thing, but we're doing another. We're getting young and athletic, bringing in Dwayne Wade and Rajon Rondo. We want there to be competition and quarterback. We want Mitch to learn. Let's bring in Nick Foles. But, well, what is that? Like, what are you trying to do? Are you telling us that Nick Foles isn't as good as Mitchell Trubisky? Or are you telling us it's an open competition? Because if it's an open competition, then we know what this is. You never know what this organization's up to. Why did you bring in Jimmy Graham? What happened to Trey Burton? Now, obviously, I can't be mad about... let me look this up for 1 second, because I want to get the name right, and it's totally blanking right now, and I had it top in mind. Give me 1 second. Robert Quinn from the Cowboys. That was a good move, and that's what I'm saying. They're obviously going all in on this defense. I don't know. I don't love it. I don't love what we've seen, but it's interesting. It's interesting to see that they did do that. And it was interesting that they did so fast. That the Bears didn't wait. And I wonder how many meetings they took with Tom Brady. I wonder how many meetings they did take with Phillip Rivers. I wonder if they did talk to Cam. You know, every comment that we just... And thank you guys who did leave comments. Let me check. Ramon, Popa, Gonzalito, Nando, Christian... even my mom, who is a Packers fan. Thank you guys for leaving questions. You guys got any more questions, leave them down, and we'll get through them. But, you know, I wonder who they talk to. You know, do you trust this? This is the same front office that didn't talk to Deshaun Watson over dinner. This is the same team that evaluated that Mitchell Trubisky was a better quarterback than Deshaun Watson and Patrick Mahomes. Do you trust them? That they did their due diligence when it came into bringing Nick Foles? Did they talk to Tom Brady? Did they talk to Cam Newton? Did they talk to Teddy Bridgewater? Truly. What was this about Teddy Bridgewater and the Bears were close to a deal? And the reason why I even ask these questions is because they haven't earned the trust. They have not earned the trust of fandom, of media, of just outside viewership, novice viewership. They didn't earn it. So that's what I think right now of these moves for Nick Foles. But look, I would love to be wrong. And again, we all know in the NFL, you could go from 3-13 to 13-3 in one season. He knows the offense, doesn't have a lot of help. other than Allen Robinson. And I don't care who Jimmy Graham was, the Jimmy Graham that we've seen. There's only Allen Robinson. Will they do something with that running back duo? I mean, will we actually see something of a running game? They need offensive line help. And you're not going to get these things without draft picks. But do we want Ryan Pace making these draft picks? So that's something we can all kind of just go through as we're all kind of stuck inside. And that's kind of been the latest news of Chicago Bears football. But interesting to see how that ends up playing out. I'm interested to see what else ends up coming down the road with Cam Newton. Who does he end up going with? I want to see what the Patriots go with. I don't think they're just going to go with, I don't even know old boy's name, but they have to be talking to Andy Dalton, right? And what does Bill Belichick know about Andy Dalton that nobody else knows? I mean, yeah, granted, he was hiding in Cincinnati, but, that'd be interesting. Salute. I hope you guys are all being safe out there, though. I hope you guys are all enjoying. It's interesting that the NFL having all these news and these free agency talk really were a nice semblance of normalcy that people needed. I think it's always really important, I think, for people to have that outlet. We were talking about it on top of the show, if you guys are just joining us, that I think a lot of people, sports and pop culture is just not just an escape for them, but it's therapeutic for them, on some level. And having these news and these little tidbits to kind of just for a second to kind of get lost, it's always nice for people. And one thing that I'm noticing is I don't think a lot of people are just going to say it's just sports, it's just a movie, it's just music, it's just art. I think when people face certain things, their embrace of the things they love grows. So I even think the people who play the sports, LeBron James, the actors, Tom Hanks, the musicians, Pearl Jam, these people who have canceled stuff, who have gone through stuff, I think they're going to appreciate their fans more. I think we're going to appreciate little things more. I know, and I'll let you all on the internet world live with whatever discussions you guys want to. This is just me. I think, generally speaking, if all things were good, I think at the end of this, we're all going to have an appreciation for different things. And I think that's all we can really ask for. And when we have things like Tom Brady signing with Tampa Bay, and Nick Foles going to the Bears, it's that reminder that life will go back. And hopefully, it's not forgotten. That humanity, that empathy, and that gratitude towards all these different things. That next time you're able to go to Wrigley Field, or you're able to go to Guaranteed Rate and have a beer and a hot dog and watch the Cubs or the Sox, when you're able to watch the, God forbid, I apologize if you have to watch them. But if you got Bulls tickets and you got to watch the Chicago Bulls, you'll enjoy watching Benny the Bull. You'll appreciate Zach LaVine-Stuck, and maybe they will appreciate you on the other end. Maybe these Hollywood elites will appreciate the craft that they do. Will appreciate the fact that they do have kind of this privilege. And maybe we will show an appreciation for the people we never think of. The people at your grocery store, the nurses, the first responders, people, just everyday life, because life goes so fast. If none of this was happening, this Tom Brady stuff would be the news of the day, and we'd be moved on the next day. But we're cherishing things a little bit more. We're slowing down a little bit more. I'm always trying to find a positive in things. And that's kind of one of the positives that I'm kind of looking for. A lot of people know I like to dabble in a lot of different things. In the video game world, a lot of things are being released. And people are kind of going on Twitch and talking to their community and going back and forth with each other. and getting excited about that, even though they lost E3. When in a year where we're getting a PlayStation 5 and an Xbox Series X, the newest Xbox, will people feel comfortable buying those systems later on? Spending $500 on an entertainment system when all this is going on? I don't know. That's something that we'll talk about as we go along. What about WWE for all you wrestling fans? AEW, New Japan, Ring of Honor, cancel these shows. WrestleMania going from where the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, speaking of Tom Brady, this stadium, 80,000 people, to the Performance Center. Should they be doing shows at all? They were a show that went live right after 9/11. Do people need, is it a responsibility, if you have it, if you could be safe about it, to entertain the masses, to be a distraction? It's a conversation we can have. It's interesting. The world of sports, we don't know when the NBA will come back. Maybe June. It's really interesting that it's a lot of different avenues have been affected by this. Schools, parents looking down a path they never thought they were going to have to. How can you? How could you think that this was going to happen? People at work, thinking about their next paycheck. People who are in some type of position of authority that now have to make decisions they never thought they were going to have to make. So maybe all these things that we are getting, these little tidbits, being able to talk about the Chicago Bears and being able to talk about AEW just having an empty arena show. And it was kind of cool. We saw Brody Lee, who's Luke Harper for WWE, showing up. The WWE showed their NXT shows almost 2 straight hours of awesome vignettes. Old school wrestling stuff. So we are getting, that's why I wanted to jump on here. The studio is set up over there, but I kind of wanted just to be out there with you guys. How we're all just kind of hanging out. I think what's also interesting, and I kind of want to talk about this too, is the anxiety level I think a lot of people are feeling. I admit it, there's that funny meme going on of a status report. It's Star Trek when you see Picard. Every time you wake up in the morning, you're just doing a status check. What have I missed? What happened overnight? What is the news of the day? And that's not fun to live, But I said this to my family yesterday. As hard as it is, and maybe I don't know what I'm talking about. There's a good chance that's true. I, at least for myself, want to embrace my anxiety right now. Excuse me. I want to embrace it. I want to learn from it. I want to channel it. And I want to remember what it feels like, what that realm is like. I think it's going to be easy for a lot of people to forget. And I think right now is a great time to exercise, if you can, to the best that you can. This is just my opinion. This is what I'm doing. And maybe it's not right, and let me know if it's not. To embrace it a little bit and to just live in it and go through that roller coaster a bit. Because this is just life. And this, life as we know it won't be the same. But we can, with embracing that anxiety, it'll be okay. It'll just be different. It'll be new. We can make it great, though. And that's the interesting thing about it. I'll tell you some of the stuff I do miss. I do miss not feeling like a dread of going to the store. I do miss not having this weird feeling of uncleanliness. Even though I've always been kind of a germaphobe, I've always been somebody, there's always hand sanitizer, always washing my hands. I'm definitely a neat freak between me and lovely Nicole Mancha. It's interesting that I'm always feeling kind of that weird dirtiness now. I don't feel good always necessarily being happy. I think that's a weird thing a lot of people are going through right now is I was really happy today. Even though I didn't necessarily like the moves the Bears made, I was happy to talk sports. I'm happy right now talking it. But even times when I want to, let's say, record an episode of The Good Brothers with Good Brother Alex Mercado, How can you talk about having fun and then like, hey, we kind of want to go to the movies and go see Invisible Man when and there's stuff going on. No matter how you feel about it, no matter where your stance is, stuff is happening. And I think that's what a lot of people are going through. It's like is it okay to be happy? So, and I'm not talking about the dum-dums who are at spring break. I'm talking about like the general public, the rest of the world. And that's kind of the funny thing is trying to be happy and like finding that level of, is it okay if I'm excited about this? Can I say I'm excited about this video game? Like hell, at midnight, Resident Evil 3 demo comes out. Everybody knows how much I'm a video game nerd. Resident Evil 2 remake last year, best video game of 2019. Is it okay to be excited to play a video game? A pandemic isn't a snow day. That's what I think a lot of people are having a hard time with. So I think we all also, even someone like me who's a little bit more serious when it comes to this type of stuff, needs to also remember, like, humans have a lot of emotions. They go through a lot of different things. Have you guys gone through that? Have you guys gone through any of that type of guilt? Of even if you're not necessarily being affected by it just because of everything going around, like, can I have a little fun? Can I enjoy it? Can I say I'm having fun in quarantine? I mean, I'm not necessarily, but I think everybody's trying to find the moral balance. And I'm not talking about the crazy internet moral balance. I'm talking about the legitimate universe, palpable. We all live in it. We all have the secrecy together for it. But, like right now, I think it's amazing that, I could see some people who are joining us and God bless you guys who join us right now. And hopefully it's just for a second, even if it's just to hang out, be like, what's this doofus talking about? But, it's fun. It's fun right now to do this because I know how serious it is out there and I don't know what tomorrow is going to bring. I don't know what the next week is going to bring. I don't know what a month is going to bring. But at least I know right now at this moment, we're having a little fun and we're talking. We were able to talk Tom Brady, TB12 in Tampa Bay. We were able to talk a whole thing about the Chicago Bears and everything's all right. We didn't lose. How important things are. We haven't lost our moral compass because we want to entertain ourselves. So I think it's important. I think that's why I wanted to do this. I've been pushing this off. I wanted to start on Monday. It's already Wednesday night. I wanted to start doing this on Monday, and I just felt kind of bad. Like, I don't want to go on a camera and just talk to people and be like, what do I have to say? But, I think if not for anything else, and, to be honest, it's also selfishly, I wanted to get on and just talk with you guys. I haven't talked to anybody about WrestleMania going to the Performance Center, not being able to go to movie theaters, not being able to go to the gym, worrying about going to quarantine. What does that mean for my job? What does it mean when you're in media? So that's all stuff that we could talk about. That's all stuff that, over the next few weeks, over the next few days, we'll do. And, yeah, guys, but I think that's pretty much it. You guys can see all right here. Let me see. I'm on the wrong screen, so let me make sure. I might be pointing the wrong direction. I am pointing the wrong direction. So right here, you guys can see it. This is all the social media stuff: Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, YouTube. Up there is all the stuff that you can see where you can get the podcast. That's my beautiful logo. This is my beautiful face. Here's the double chin. I hate it. And the buck teeth. But you guys can follow us, support us. We are going to get back into a routine of putting stuff out there. And I think if nothing else, I think I want to be a little bit more open with you guys after this. When it comes to everything, I think this is a great opportunity now to be as transparent as we can while we're going through this. And we'll find out what the new normal is. But, as of right now, the new normal is you guys got to talk to me. You guys see how serious it is, but also we're going to talk about some fun stuff, and we're going to be a distraction. We're going to be together, and it'll be all right. Thank you guys so much for joining us here on a live chat in crazy times, but we're all here, and we love each other, and thank you guys for joining us. Make sure you're following us all over social medias. Make sure you guys subscribe to the podcast, and make sure you guys take care of each other. Be nice to other people. Help somebody out. Can't hurt, right? For everybody here at Mercado Airwaves, I'm Mike Mercado. We'll see you next time.